Alright guys, I wanted to do another quick video of a product I currently have for sale. This is going to be a Dell laptop. It is an Inspiron 55.9 model. I believe this is from 2015. This laptop is got good power behind it, but it's also very efficient when it comes to battery life. Everything that's on it is kind of a low power type design. But with that being said, it still does have what it needs to push your above average form of any kind of processes one might do. So we'll start by taking a look here at the exterior of it, just to give you an idea of its overall footprint. It's pretty thin for its size. It's not as thin as some of them, but as you can see here, it's got just a decent amount of I/O. You have the charge port, the Ethernet port, ventilation slot there, so this will stay focused, HDMI, a super speed USB, and then a SD card slot. And if we slide this around on the other side, there is a headphone port, as well as two more USB ports, CD tray, and then a little locking slot there to secure it to a desk. So that's it on the I/O. There's nothing on the back or the front. And as you can see, its overall footprint is fairly thin compared to, most laptops, but obviously it's not too thin. It does have the speakers. I don't know if you saw that there, but there are two little slots there. Those are for the speakers. So with that in mind, we'll take a look at the interior. It's got a very clean design, very simplistic. The panel on this is I believe it's 14 or 15 inch. It is going to be a 1080p screen, so it's 1920 by 1080. That means it's got a nice, very clear and crisp image. And we'll just hide that message there, sorry. It does have the backlit keyboard, and it has a buttonless touchpad, so you can click anywhere on the touchpad to actually do a clicking motion, and then if you click on the touchpad in this little area down here, that simulates a right click. So yeah, other than that, that's pretty much all that it has going on. It has these two lovely little speakers here, which will reveal the specifications of it. It does have an Intel Core i7 that's a 6500U model, and it's a more or less power designed type i7, so it's still got decent power, but it's not going to have high clock rates. It is a dual core 2.5 gigahertz processor that's hyper threaded. So that gives you 4 logical cores. It does turbo up to 3.1 gigahertz, however. And then it has 4 gigabytes of DDR low voltage RAM. That's on one stick. You have one more DDR3 slot that's only DDR-L, but it does support 1600 megahertz, and that could give you up to 8. I believe the maximum this will support is 16. So with that in mind, getting into the details of the GPU here, it does have a dedicated GPU as well as on board. The i7 comes with the Intel HD Graphics 520, and it's going to primarily use that whenever it is doing anything that doesn't require too much power, such as browsing the web, maybe watching HD videos. But if it gets to more 3D intensive applications, or it's just something that could use dedicated memory more efficiently, then it's going to use the onboard, which is a AMD R5 M335 graphics card with 4 gigabytes of dedicated DDR3 video memory. So that is DDR3 video memory, but it's 4 gigabytes, so certain applications can benefit from that. And then that's pretty much it. The last thing I do want to let you know is regarding the battery life and the charger. The charger that I have with this is the only one that I actually had, unfortunately, that would fit it at this current state. So I figured I'll just leave it as is. This is a power supply that has the correct fitting, but it's actually 45 watts, which is about 20 watts below the recommended spec. Now, that's not a huge deal. It just means one of two things. First, it means that if the computer is at max load while it's plugged in charging, there's a chance that it could start to pull a little bit of energy from the battery as well as charging. But that's not a big issue if you're primarily doing basic things on it. So browsing the web and stuff, it's going to charge just like a normal laptop, albeit slightly slower. But in order to get to its peak performance, if needed, without that 65 watts coming from this bad boy, it's not really going to have enough to do that without sipping from the battery a little bit. So closing off then on the details with the battery here, we have a battery report that was pulled up after a full charge, and as you can see here, its design capacity was about 41,000 milliwatt hours, but its full charge actual capacity is only going to be 26,000 milliwatt hours, and that basically just means that when it's at a full charge, and it says 100% in the Windows system, it's only carrying about 60% of what it actually was able to carry when it first was shipped with the computer, if that makes sense. So overall, it's slightly above halfway through its life. It'll hold decent charge for about 2 hours or so because it is a energy type laptop, as long as the brightness and settings are where they need to be. So just to give you an idea then, those are the current as-is specs with it. Other than that, though, everything is perfectly fine. You can usually find replacement batteries for pretty cheap, and even a larger size power supply if the 45 watt is an issue with you. But with that in mind, I just wanted to give you guys a quick clip here showing what it is capable of as far as graphical performance goes. And I'm going to use something that I always use, which is going to be Fortnite, just to give you guys an idea of what this thing is capable of as far as pushing it to its absolute limit. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and pick up here with just this final little clip for you. We currently have a full screen resolution of 1280 by 720, which isn't the original resolution of the screen, just to help with performance. Frame rate set to 30, and then we have 76.3 is the little slider here for the internal resolution. And then everything else is on low and no motion blur. So we can just show you here what the gameplay looks like. You can see it's actually stuttering a little bit, but that should clear up. So you can see here it does have some frame drops, it seems like, which it didn't before, which is interesting, but nonetheless here it appears to be stable now. So we're at about 25, 27, 8 frames per second. And you can see here that it doesn't look too bad for the details. Obviously the resolution is lower, so you're going to see quite a few pixelation and jagged lines and edges, but nonetheless, you know, it's working for a laptop. So this hopefully gives you an idea of overall what you can expect from this laptop as a package. It'll be ideal for anybody who's looking to do basic computer work with some multitasking in mind. And maybe even some very basic games, because as you can see here, something like Fortnite, although playable, I wouldn't consider it in an enjoyable sense playable, just because you are going to have those random spikes possibly from time to time, and that could affect your overall gameplay experience. Hopefully this video has been insightful and you haven't minded the fact that I've talked for quite a majority of it. But I'll go ahead and finish this out with just a little bit of silent gameplay here. And thanks again for watching. Y'all have a great day. I think I just destroyed that chest. Oh well.